Hey everyone, welcome to our taping of The Heart of Innovation. You are behind the scenes. We're going to toss it over to our amazing producer, Chris D with KDOW, and we're going to get this show started because if you have trouble sleeping, we might have a solution for you. So stay with us.
Care deeply about our country. Reserve your cabin today. Text cruise to 94878, 94878, or visit scottjenningshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
The Bay Area's business leader, AM 1220 KDOW.
Palo Alto, San Francisco.
Download our apps. Stream us 24/7. Find us online at kdow.biz.
Sponsored by The Way to My Heart Incorporated.
Welcome to the Heart of Innovation, 60 minutes that could save life and limb with new breakthrough ideas and innovation changing the healthcare landscape. Brought to you by Patient Advocacy Group, the Global PAD Association at padhealth.org, in partnership with Reflow Medical, the pulse of medical ingenuity. Here are your hosts for the Heart of Innovation, Emmy Award-winning journalist and founder of the Global PAD Association, Kym McNicholas, and interventional cardiologist and founder of Save My Piggies Health and Wellness, Dr. John Phillips.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. If your sleep cycle is broken, your heart may be broken too. Nearly half of adults struggle to fall or stay asleep, and consistently sleeping less than 6 hours a night is linked to higher risk of heart attack, stroke, and high blood pressure. So if sleep is one of the most powerful tools for cardiovascular protection, then why are so many people lying awake? Today on The Heart of Innovation, we're joined by Meredith Perry, a serial entrepreneur, former NASA researcher, and founder of Elemind, who is putting people to sleep in minutes. Yes, minutes. On the streets of New York, on trains, even planes. But before we get to her breakthrough, Dr. John Phillips, how often do your cardiovascular and vascular patients tell you, I can't sleep?
Well, no, I mean, so statistically speaking, 10 to 15% of all adults have insomnia. And then you look at one of the biggest issues that people have with respect to cardiovascular disease is obstructive sleep apnea, which causes a lot of stress on the heart, which we'll talk about. And then we have a treatment for that, but a lot of people don't use the device. And so big issues. And man, we all need a little bit more sleep. And interestingly enough, when you look at cardiovascular risk, if you get too little sleep, there's risk. And actually, if you get too much, there's risk as well. So this is going to be a fantastic show. I can't wait to talk to Meredith about her device, the technology, how it's helping folks that, those of us that have insomnia, but, potentially obstructive sleep apnea. So super stoked here. Happy to be a part of it.
Well, before we put people to sleep, let's have a moment of inspiration.
Dr. John Phillips, spectacular vascular moment of inspiration.
Yeah, so keeping with the theme of sleep, I was doing some research on some sleep researchers, and I came across Dr. Matthew Walker, who's a neuroscientist and a professor at UC Berkeley. Does a lot of research in sleep, and I'm sure Meredith has heard of him. But he's got multiple quotes about like sleep deprivation and the importance of sleep, and so I like this one because I think we don't really focus on how important sleep is, but it really affects, I think, your ability to reset and recharge the body. So, Dr. Walker says sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day. So it's super important to talk about sleep and then figure out ways where we can get better sleep and more like, quality sleep as opposed to waking up and all that good stuff. So kudos to Dr. Walker and his team. Kudos to Meredith for developing this fantastic piece of equipment here to maybe help people get to sleep quicker.
I have to ask you, Meredith, though, are you getting a lot more sleep lately?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I'm great.
I can imagine being a CEO that normally, because I'm a CEO myself, and there's so much that keeps you awake at night, but having a company that is developing a technology, I mean, all the thoughts that are running through your mind as an average CEO would, you're still able to get some sleep because I imagine you're using that every night.
Absolutely. So Thank you guys so much for having me on the show. This is wonderful. You guys are wonderful. Elemind's technology is actually very helpful for just that. So I've got it in my hands here for those who are watching on YouTube, for those who are listening. We've created a wearable neurotech device, a really lightweight, comfortable headband that can interrupt brainwave patterns associated with wakefulness and help drive the brain to sleep very quickly. So if you are a ruminator, if you are up thinking about all the things that you didn't do during the day and all the things you have to do tomorrow, Elemind's technology is extremely helpful at literally cutting through that noise. So
That's pretty sweet. So what about, gosh, I have so many questions, and Kym, you'll have to like rein me in here a little bit, but
We'll go with the flow.
go with the flow. That's usually what we do. So when you talk about trying to get people to wear a device, right? I mean, I imagine there's some hurdles with that. So you're putting this headband on, and then you're asking them to use it to help sleep a little, get to sleep quicker. But yet a lot of folks are on their phones and they're doing other things that distract them. Like, how do you balance that? Those issues with just trying to get people to kind of buy into something like this, I guess.
yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of people in this world need more sleep, and they know it desperately. And whether you are a new parent and you're absolutely exhausted but have to be up at night with your baby, or if you are a frequent traveler and you're just trying to sleep on an airplane, or you're a night shift worker, whatever it is, people have all different types of reasons why they might have trouble getting to sleep. And we made sure that whatever device that we created, and ultimately it's this one, it would be something super, super easy. Something that you could literally just put on your head like a headband, and tap a button and have it work. We did not want there to be something complicated, something that would make it easy for people to say, I don't want to do this. So keeping it simple, keeping it lightweight, comfortable, and something that you could very quickly add as part of your sleep routine was super important. And that's what Elemind is.
But it sounds like you just had an idea that, well, I want to help people sleep. So you didn't know what the device would be. You knew that you wanted to help people sleep. So where did this come from? Where did the interest come from? How did you meet your co-founder, who is a professor of neuroscience, and start working on this idea to solve this major problem?
Well, it's an interesting story. My co-founders and I were separately tinkering with different ideas, and I was personally really interested in the concept of how do we make healthcare more proactive? How do we, right now, and in 2019, when I was thinking about these issues, I was thinking, why is it that we're in this world with so much technology, yet we have no idea about what's going on inside our brains and inside of our bodies? We know more about what's going on inside our cars and our refrigerators than we do our own bodies. And when we actually identify a problem, it's usually a little bit too late. We already have symptoms, right? And then we treat those symptoms typically with pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals can be very effective, but they come with side effects. And so I started thinking, how do we make a drug without side effects? And so I started looking into neurostimulation devices that can act on the brain as opposed to the body pharmacologically. And I wasn't actually particularly interested in sleep to begin with, but I was very interested in the brain. And so I reached out to my friend, now my co-founder, Dr. Ed Boyden, who's one of the lead neuroscience professors at MIT. And we got to chatting about this concept of, like an app store for the brain, or an electronic drug, or read-write neurotechnology. And he asked me to come to MIT, and he told me that he and our now two other co-founders were working on this really interesting, what's called neuromodulation technology that could predict.
And we're going to find out more about this neuromodulation technology coming up next, right here on the Heart of Innovation. So don't go away.
That's why That's why Kym is the Emmy award-winning, host here. She can
really are good,
get a
Kym.
get a teaser going there. That's a
Jump right in.
great teaser.
Your voice is incredible. And sorry if my answers are too long-winded.
No, it's perfect.
They are perfect. This is a chatty show. When it's on the radio, people just love hearing people have a conversation. So, and they love stories, and you're fantastic at storytelling. And that's what we want to hear. We want to hear those stories. We want to hear the conversations that transpired. That's what's really interesting about it.
Cool. Okay.
I'm surprised that Forbes hasn't nabbed onto you for a cover. I wonder what their themes are going forward, because your story is amazing. And I mean, from my experience there, you would be a cover story for them. You have every single formulaic element of that for a cover story. So,
well, I'm game.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Exactly. Let's go.
Hey, we're putting it out there. We're manifesting this. Our crew, right? Our summit crew, we manifest shit.
I remember that, especially in.
We'll have to spend like in our last segment's 4 minutes. We should probably go into how you guys hung out, and I need to hear this like
ankle flop story
or ankle flop story. What are those things called? Cankles?
Yeah, but no, it just was that moment. It was like this aha moment to me that the way she thinks is just so inspiring, and she is a true entrepreneur at heart, and that's a true problem solver. Someone mentions a problem, she's already looking for solutions.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's sweet. Thanks, Kym.
So Meredith, is it cool to just continue the story about the neuromodulation and all that?
Yeah, I'll do whatever you guys want. Whatever's most entertaining.
I love it.
Yeah, no, the neuromodulation. Yeah, the neuromodulation, because that's what he was working on, right? That's where the conversation went.
KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Sorry, folks, I just dozed off there for a second. I was undergoing some closed-loop acoustic neurostimulation with the Elemind. No, just kidding. Hey, we're back. Welcoming Meredith Perry, co-founder of Elemind and CEO. So right before we had that beautiful teaser from Miss Kimberly, you were telling us about how you kind of developed the whole the neuromodulation and the stimulation. So let's continue the conversation.
Yeah, so I had connected with Dr. Ed Boyd, the lead neuroscience professor at MIT, and he and my other co-founders had developed a new
I'm not sure if anything's going to happen with that.
That allowed us to.
In that room too,
Well, Democrats sure didn't want it, did they?
Oop. That's the beauty of live. Yep.
When you have a live studio audience, you end up with some folks jumping on in. Everyone, please stay muted so that we can hear this wonderful story. Go ahead, Meredith. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah. So they had developed these neuromodulation techniques that would allow us to predictably change the brain from the outside. And if you can change the brain, you can actually change behavior. And so, and if you change behavior, you're literally changing. When I say behavior, you could move someone from an awake state to a sleep state, or, this was the thing that they were actually working on first was tremor control. So if you've ever seen anybody with essential tremor or maybe Parkinson's actually physically shake, they showed that with the same kind of technique that we use to help people fall asleep, it could help somebody physically stop shaking. And so this is the concept of neuromodulation, brainwave control, that we've now applied to a number of different applications, with sleep as the first one for our commercial.
This might be, something near and dear to Dr. John Phillips' heart. I'm sure that sparks a few thoughts.
Well, I mean, there's a number of things. Like me, for those of us folks that do sometimes have trouble falling asleep, it's really frustrating. And then when you also have to deal with poor sleep, and you're kind of waking up and ruminating and whatnot. And so I think any opportunity to use something that's non-pharmacological is very advantageous. And I know we're going to talk about this in a little bit. Maybe we can do it now. But so the device itself, you put it on, okay, right, and then it through the temporal bone, you get some acoustic stimulation. Is that right? Okay.
I'll tell you how it works. So
please.
So for those of us who are not up to speed on their neuroscience, and that's okay if you're not, the brain is an electrochemical organ, and the brain is very active, and we can measure that brain activity on the outside of the brain using what's called an EEG. So like an EKG would measure heart activity, and EEG is measuring brain activity. And different frequencies that we can pick up on these EEG tells us what state the brain is in. If it's high frequency, for example, and if it's high frequency and your eyes are closed, you're measuring alpha. And then as you start to fall asleep, for example, the brainwave frequencies will very predictably shift downward. And so what we do is we'll read those brainwave frequencies using these EEG sensors. There are 5 of them around the inside of the headband. And in response to what we read in real time, we will send a sound pulse through what's called a bone conductor, which will actually vibrate the skull, and your brain will interpret that vibration as sound. And it will interrupt the brainwave patterns associated with being awake at a very specific moment in time, so that it's like noise cancellation, but for your brain. And when you can help effectively cancel out the brainwaves associated with being awake, somebody falls asleep.
So walk me through, because from that idea to then putting this technology together, what was that? And it might be a little too geeky, but you could probably break it down for us and make it a little bit more layperson. But step by step, what was the process of putting something like this together and finding the right sounds and all that jazz, and even creating sounds? Did you create the sounds, or did you get them from somewhere?
Yeah, so interestingly, it's the sound itself doesn't matter that much. We use pink noise bursts. So you maybe have heard of white noise. Pink noise is a slightly different range of frequencies that most people can hear, which is why we chose pink as opposed to white. And it's actually not very pleasant. You hear it when you're listening to Elemind. It's like, some people describe it as like a static sound. But the sound itself is not what's interesting. It's the timing of the stimulation relative to the brain. So that was the major unlock, is that when you read the brain, there is a certain moment along the wave that if you hit it with a stimulus, it will maximally be disrupted. And so if you think about like an ocean wave in the ocean, if you hit it at a certain angle at a certain time, you can either cancel that ocean wave out, or you can make a really big wave when two come together. So the sound we could make nice, we could make it, and we will be more creative with it later, but it's actually the timing of the sound pulse relative to the brain more than it is the sound itself.
So then does the device, oh, sorry, Kym, does the device, does the frequency with respect to the emissions go down as you fall, like when you're asleep? Is it still working, or is it kind of turn itself off?
So the way that we have it set up right now is we detect when the brain has fallen asleep. We've got a real-time neural network on the device that is tracking your brain waves and determining what stage of sleep you're in. And when you've fallen asleep, we will fade the stimulation out. And then later on in the night, if you wake up, we have a button on the bottom of the headband that you can tap. We call it the go back to sleep button. And it'll put you right back to sleep if you wake up. And then something that we're coming out with later in 2026 is called deep sleep stimulation. And when we detect that the brain has entered deep sleep, we will start stimulating at a different frequency, at a different part of the delta waves, the slow waves during deep sleep, to amplify your slow waves. And that will give you more restorative sleep over the course of the night. So right now it's just falling asleep and falling back to sleep, but later on it will also be stimulation during deep sleep.
Okay, so they wear this all night long.
Yes.
And does it move around? I mean, I shift a lot during the night, and I would imagine maybe with this device on, maybe you're not as fidgety as you would normally be if you're struggling with sleep.
So it's perfectly fine if you move around. In fact, there's a ton of redundancy built into the system. So most people are shifting. Most people are switching sides. In fact, you have to switch sides, otherwise you get bed sores.
Yeah.
So interesting fact, but every night your nose will actually get a little bit stuffed up on one side, so that you'll switch to the other side and move, so you can breathe out of the other side of your nose so that you don't get bed sores. Anyway, weird fact from my surgeon father.
Nice.
Love that.
So we've got 1 minute left. Real quick before I lose my train of thought, there's probably some moms and dads out there that are like, "Oh, I can't get my baby to sleep or my kids to sleep." Can you
good one.
consider, like, kids? Can kids wear something like this, or maybe baby? I don't know if it whatever babies.
Yeah. So our technology is allowed for anyone over the age of 13. The only reason why we can't use it on people under the age of 13 is just data laws, that we're not allowed to collect information on people under 13. So there's no reason why this wouldn't be helpful for somebody that's young or under age 13, but we haven't done any clinical tests on people, on babies, toddlers.
And I would think it would be a different size as well. But coming up next, right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to hear more from Meredith Perry, and we're going to find out how folks in New York City have been sleeping with the CEO of Elemind. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away.
Can we talk a little bit about obstructive sleep apnea?
Yeah, we're getting questions in actually on here about whether or not people are like, I don't want the CPAP anymore. I don't want to Inspire. Can I just do this?
Okay. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, we'll have to clarify that. So I'll give a little bit of info around obstructive sleep apnea, and then we can talk about, because if I remember correctly, Meredith, you guys are doing a trial with a CPAP company, but just looking at compliance, not okay. Sweet. Now, is there a so you buy the device and that's it, or do you have to, is there a subscription or anything?
There is an optional subscription if you want access to your sleep data and some advanced features. But if you don't have the subscription, you still get the core stimulation feature of going to sleep faster and going back to sleep faster.
Okay. And then what about like the Aura Ring or Woo, or those? So what do you do with something that, like the Aura Ring, for example, they tell you it tracks your sleep? Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, because someone was like, "Well, should I get one?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what you do with the data, but sure."
Yeah. So that's a great topic for us to talk about.
Okay.
All the devices where Elemind is read and write, and there's a lot of information in this world, some accurate, some inaccurate, and a lot of people don't know what to do with that, but typically what's measured improves. Anyway,
okay. Yeah, let's chat about that, because I was going to buy an Aura Ring this weekend, and I thought, let me check this out. Do you have an Aura Ring, Kym? Do you have a Whoop?
You know what? I interviewed someone from the company a long time ago, and they gave me one, and it is probably old now, and it sits in a box. You kind of get overwhelmed, with after a certain amount of time with, I don't even wear my Apple Watch anymore. It just, I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's so many different, and then you start thinking about all the things that are pinging you from everywhere, and that concerns me. Yeah. I would rather have things, something like this that's not just reading it, but doing something about it.
Right.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. I mean, because the Apple Watch, it'll track your sleep, but again, you're wearing it and it's pinging you all night. So like, I tried it once and I kept waking up from it.
Yeah, I feel like having a lot of the things that you can't see, the wireless transmissions, I feel like, and I'm curious, how much that disrupts so many people's sleep. Wi-Fi in the house and your phone sitting right next to you, and
30 seconds.
That kind of thing.
And what segment is this? Is this 3?
This is 3. And then I thought in segment 4 we could get into her sleeping with the CEO.
Yes, I like that idea.
Like you, we say what's wrong and what's right, unfiltered and unapologetic.
Here we go.
News Channel. We're the answer to the mainstream media. Learn more at snc.tv.
KDOW.biz.
1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So, Meredith, before we get into obstructive sleep apnea, which has significant implications from a cardiovascular standpoint, just wanted to get your thoughts, because we were kind of talking during the break about some of the other wearables to monitor sleep, like the Oura Ring and the Whoop, and I guess the Apple Watch. Like, how do you feel about those?
Yeah, so we call the devices that are on your wrist or on your finger read devices. These are devices that will tell you roughly what's going on in your body, but can't do a whole lot beyond that. And we think they're great because they have brought a lot of awareness to the importance of sleep. And typically what's measured improves, but there's a fundamental limit to what they can do because it's just information. So you can weigh yourself every day, and the scale can tell you that you're overweight, but unless you actually stop eating so much and start exercising, you're not gonna lose weight. So what we refer to Elemind as is not just a read device, it's a read and write device. It's a device that not only tells you what's going on, but it also fixes it for you. So that's the fundamental change, and what I think will meet a lot of people where they are. And that's why people are so attracted to things like pills, because you can just pop one and it does the thing for you. So we want it to be the electronic equivalent of a pill.
That's awesome. So, okay, real quick about obstructive sleep apnea. So we know that affects maybe a third of all adult males and 20% of females. And what happens with obstructive sleep apnea is you get low oxygen levels, high carbon dioxide levels. You kind of get woken up, these arousals, they call them. And then ultimately it triggers a bunch of things with respect to inflammation and stress on the heart. So your device does not, you can't replace a CPAP with your device, but maybe your device will help people be more compliant with the CPAP. Is that right?
That's right. So Elemind does not help sleep apnea. But it can help people with both insomnia and sleep apnea. Or I should be careful about saying the word insomnia, since we are a general wellness product and we don't treat diseases, but we can help people that have lots of different sleep issues. With respect to people that have sleep apnea, we're doing a clinical trial right now with ResMed. And if you're somebody with sleep apnea, you probably are familiar with that company because they probably made your CPAP. So we're doing a clinical trial that combines Elemind with a CPAP to see if Elemind's technology, since it can help people fall asleep much faster, will help improve adherence to the CPAP, so that you're not focused on this big clunk of mask and tubing on your face because you're just asleep. So you're not up ruminating, thinking about how uncomfortable something is on your face. And so that's what our hope is. We have lots and lots of customers who also have sleep apnea, who wear a CPAP with Elemind. In fact, my co-founder is one of those people. He wears both a CPAP and Elemind, and we designed Elemind to be used with a CPAP as well as a number of other things that might be on your face.
I'm just curious, and because I'm not a doctor, and I don't know if this is the appropriate place to ask the question, or if anyone's ever asked you about this before, but do you think it's with sleep apnea, having something like this in your earlier days, and you're getting more restful sleep, do you think that could prevent sleep apnea? I know that's stepping out on a ledge, but I'm wondering if struggles with sleep, can lead to sleep apnea. And maybe if people had more restful sleep naturally, that, they wouldn't need sleep, what do you call them, a CPAP?
Well, I think that sleep apnea is more complicated, where, you can.
Just so many people have it. And I just wonder why now? Why do so many people have sleep apnea than ever before? Is it just the aging population? But even then, we have younger people.
Well, I think it's just a disease process that we're aware of and we have a name for it. There's a lot of, I think it's related to obesity.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of predictors and risk factors for it. It is kind of interesting though that if you look at the data, twice as many men have it than women. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just kind of how we're made. I don't know.
But John, isn't it true now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw some stat recently that now with the rise of GLP-1s, with more people losing weight, those who maybe previously had sleep apnea are sort of cured of their issue when they lose weight.
Yeah, there's an indication now for the GLP-1s in people that have sleep apnea. So if you have sleep apnea, documented by an abnormal sleep study, their insurance companies are covering it because I think it is. Honestly, you're losing the weight and the glottis is becoming less like full, and you can see people that, oh, you've got sleep apnea, you don't. Yeah, that's
it's not it's not always obesity. I've seen
right.
many people that also have sleep apnea, but the part of the issue with sleep apnea is that it causes so many micro arousals over the course of the night that they're very fragmented sleep, and that can prevent somebody from getting into deep sleep or prevent somebody from going through the full.
And that's a great point because those micro arousals increase your sympathetic tone, which then kind of drives your fight or flight, and your heart rate goes up, and that's what leads to damage to the heart muscle and arrhythmias and things. Like Reggie White, famous football player, died in like mid-40s from obstructive sleep apnea related to complications from it. So definitely, it's a curable disease and very treatable. And hopefully your device will help people be more compliant because I know a ton of people out there that need a CPAP and they just won't wear it.
Yeah.
Coming up next, right here on the Heart of Innovation, I want to find out from Meredith, who was the first test money for Elemind and how those iterations, progressed over time, and was it in a lab? Where did this all occur, and what was that moment where they said, "Aha, we've finally done it"? That, as well as how people in New York are sleeping with the CEOs. So stay with us right here on KDOW. I'm curious about that first time that someone put this band on. Like, what was that whole process like? So I'm wondering if we could talk about that and then get into the Sleeping with the CEO campaign. Who was the first to wear it?
Oh, the band, like the actual physical headband?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Probably me. Just our team, right? And then I would have like close people to me where it like family.
Did you always know it was going to be a headband or?
No, we had many different thoughts around what it could be. It could have been a pillowcase. It could have been a hat. It could have been like, because all you need to do is touch the head. Could have been earphones or earbuds. And the truth is that you can now put this technology into anything that touches the head. So whether it's headphones, whether it's eyeglasses, whether it's a VR headset.
And it has to be above the ear, or how low can you go?
Oh, no, anywhere around the head, really.
Okay.
Maybe not on the face, but we need access to the brain. So
in the back?
Yeah, back. In fact, we get a better reading of the occipital lobe through the back. Right now we read it through the frontal lobe. On the forehead, but it would actually be better if we could do it, if we could read through the back. But then you have the challenge of trying to get through hair.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. That's interesting. That's pretty cool. Someone was asking, I doubt it, but insurance doesn't cover this.
No, but you can get reimbursed by using your FSA and HSA payment for Elemind. So it's like your pre-tax health spending. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. if people are buying it now, should they buy it now, or should they wait for the next iteration that's coming out that focuses on deep sleep as well?
Well, great question. People should buy it now because that deep sleep feature will be available on our headbands. It's just a firmware update.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. We're not going
Because
to
I
make
know people
buy new versions. Like we will continue iterating on the stimulation itself to improve it, which is all software and firmware. So these are all just app updates.
Do you guys rely pretty heavily on the use of AI in whatever capacity?
Yes and no. So we use AI throughout the night to determine what stage of sleep you're in. And AI is also what will allow us to hyper individualize the stimulation protocol for each person, because every person's brain is different. And so, to find the optimal stimulation for each person to get them feeling the best each day, that heavily relies on AI, because it's like you have got a little mini scientist in your pocket that's trying out all different types of things for you.
Do you find that someone, if they use this, that this is going to be pretty much a lifetime commitment to using the device every single night, wherever they go? Or it's just that they're going to be wanting to do it because they get the best sleep?
Yeah, I would say more about the wanting to versus the commitment piece. The only commitment that you should make with Elemind is wearing it every single night for the first week, because it takes, there's a little bit of an adaptation period. But beyond that, you can use it however you like it. We're not prescriptive. We want this to be something that you enjoy to wear.
30 seconds.
John, can we come back and talk about where and who, how do they test the different iterations, what that looked like, and then we can go into sleeping with the CEO.
What did you say there were 15 or 20 iterations?
7.
Saturday, European leaders held emergency meetings and moved
over 2 years, right?
Citizens in the Middle East.
4.
This
4
is
years.
SRN News.
That's right. You wanted it to be 2 years.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
We are talking sleep with Meredith Perry, CEO and co-founder of Elemind. So it took, 7 iterations, 4 years. You finally get down to the headband. Who gets to throw that sucker on first and be the guinea pig? You?
The Elemind team. We tried on so many different devices. We molded it in every which way so that it could be optimally comfortable for every single head shape and size, side sleeper, back sleeper, front sleeper. And we were ruthless about it, because we knew that it doesn't matter how good your technology is. If nobody wants to wear it, they're throwing it in the trash. So
what was that aha moment for you? Can you bring us back to that moment where you said, oh my God, it worked? And was someone sleeping at the time and everyone woke them out of a sound sleep because they were screaming?
Yeah, it's interesting because, for health tech inventions, it's less of an aha because you have to do a clinical trial. And it doesn't work for everybody, right? So it's more around like the statistical significance of how many people did we help improve. And so, we did a clinical trial and we showed that 76% of people with sleep onset insomnia could fall asleep in roughly half the time when they used Elemind versus their normal. And that was phenomenal. It was really, really tremendous to see that much of an impact, because we're talking about literally just using sound pulses. We weren't sedating people. This was literally just sound. But I will tell you that it's an aha moment. I do these demos all the time. I will put people to sleep in random places, and I feel as good as the first time it ever happened every time I see somebody fall asleep in a few minutes. It's an incredible thing to watch.
So yeah, let's talk about the sleeping with the CEO campaign. Who came up with this? I mean, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I love the videos. If people have a chance to visit your LinkedIn profile, they could stalk you and go down and scroll down and see so many incredible videos of you putting people to sleep literally on the streets of New York City.
Thanks, Kym. Yeah. So for those of you who are actually watching, you'll see that I'm wearing a hat that says "Sleep with our CEO" right now. If you're listening, that's what's on my head. Very professional. So we have a funny campaign where I go around and I will put people to sleep on subways, on ferries, outside of a Giants tailgate. I'll put a random person to sleep on a plane, and with Elemind's headband. And I take a nap with them and we film it. We call it Sleep with Our CEO, and we like to be cheeky like that.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, if you're in New York City or you find me on the street sometime, ask me to take a nap and I'll put you to sleep.
Take us to the first time that you did that. That had to have been nerve-wracking. And especially in New York City, I would imagine that you had a few encounters, possibly with the New York police, wondering what the heck you were doing.
Definitely. We got thrown out of Times Square. So by a policeman. Yeah, so we thought this concept of like sleep on the street would be hysterical. Because for us, a sleep product is very intimate. You don't, unlike, maybe like an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch or something like that, where you see somebody during the day with your product on, nobody's going to see anyone wearing Elemind because you're asleep with it, unless you're on an airplane. So we wanted to bring sleep to the public and show people that, hey, if you can fall asleep in the middle of Times Square with Elemind on, you can fall asleep anywhere. And so the first time we did this, we went to Washington Square Park, we went on the High Line, and we chose the busiest and loudest locations possible. We had a lawn chair that we brought around, and we asked people, hey, lay down, put this headband on, and you'll fall asleep in 15 minutes or less. And it worked, and people were shocked. And I was shocked that anyone did it. I mean,
yeah, that's what I would think. I mean, especially in New York City when you're worried about getting pickpocketed and such.
Yeah, they probably thought it was a scam.
Like, I know, right? Like,
is this when I lose my kidney?
In your face at a sleepover. This is like
exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to ask. Oh, sorry, just real quick, because I'm geeking out a little bit about the data. So did you have to prove that there was a statistical significance with respect to, I think it was like sleep onset latency?
Yes.
With your trial, or like it was not going to get, does it have to be FDA approved?
It does not, but okay. We firmly believe, I mean, so you guys are in the health space, and I'm sure you probably see all the different kinds of wellness products that come out, and you probably roll your eyes because there's so much BS out there, right? There's a lot of snake oil. There's a lot of crap that people get sold, and none of it works. And we did not want to be one of those companies. So we did not have to do a clinical trial, but we did it so that we could feel really strongly about the claims that we were making. And so we won't make a single claim that isn't backed by a clinical trial and is peer reviewed in a scientific journal. And so all our papers are in like the Nature portfolio. That's very important to us. As I mentioned, my co-founder is one of the lead neuroscience professors at MIT, and we are a science-first company.
So how do you measure that they are actually asleep?
By looking at the brainwaves. So the brainwaves don't lie, just like Shakira's hips. And I've never said that before. That's kind of weird.
That's good.
We actually we recorded the raw brainwave data. We sent that brainwave data out to sleep scorers. So they're called polysomnographers. And they didn't know which conditions that they were looking at. So it could have been, with Elemind or without Elemind. And they scored the sleep data, which is what you would do if you were to go get a proper sleep test at a sleep clinic or at a hospital with EEG. So the data was anonymously scored. And then we compared the average time to fall asleep during the days that they had, that they were using Elemind compared to the average time to fall asleep without. And that's how we were able to measure sleep onset latency, which is the time to fall asleep.
And coming up next, right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to find out about the competition in this space, any resistance that she and her team has faced in bringing this to market, and what is ahead for Elemind. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away.
Wow, that was a fabulous take, to commercial. Good job, Kym.
Douglas has a quick question for you before we come back from break. Douglas, do you have a quick question? We can't hear you. I have to unmute him. Ask to unmute. I muted everyone after that one. Go ahead, Douglas. Sorry.
For us with PAD and having trouble sleeping with pain and that, have you noticed how that helps? Because I have a graph that pokes me all night long. That's what keeps me up. So have you, and for us with toes and before we have our procedures and we go through the pain we go through and it's hard to sleep.
It override pain is, I think, right? Can it override pain and people are struggling to sleep because of pain?
That's a great question. Interestingly, we did a clinical trial with people under anesthesia. So we did Elemind's deep sleep stimulation simultaneously with sedation. So that, like dexmedetomidine or pick your favorite anesthesia drug. And we showed that we could actually increase pain tolerance when somebody used Elemind combined with anesthesia, which meant that you could you could inflict more pain on someone and they wouldn't wake up out of the anesthesia. So how does that translate into pain during normal sleep? I think what it might mean is that you'll stay in a deeper sleep. So if you normally experience pain overnight and you wake up from that, maybe you wouldn't. But these are, we haven't studied like if you are in pain as you're awake and then listening to Elemind stimulation, if that might help. So that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. We have so many patients that just can't, get to sleep at night. And if they can't sleep due to the pain, especially in their legs and their feet, typically we call it, ischemic pain, and they should end up getting treated right away. But with delays in insurance authorization for these procedures to fix those arteries that are blocked, some of these patients are calling our hotline in the middle of the night going, oh my God, I have to dangle my legs and I have to pace, and it's just wretched. So
Meredith, do you find that people on wearing the device wake up less throughout the night? Is there any data to support that?
We haven't studied that. We have, what's interesting when you're a consumer product company, you have all the after data, but none of the before, right? So unless we required our customers to do a baseline, we can't actually see how we're changing.
30 seconds.
But we can see that their sleep is very consistent with Elemind. So we looked at the data from, about 10,000 people sleeping with Elemind over the course of 2025, and people consistently were falling asleep within on an average 11 minutes, despite the day of the week or the season, which is pretty rare, actually.
Yeah. And John, so competition, what's next? She's had to have faced, and she nodded her head. She's facing some resistance from the market.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Well, kids, we're rounding third on this show, so we've got about 4 minutes left. So, Meredith, what's your competition like? Who's knocking at the door, and what kind of resistance have you faced trying to bring this device to market?
Sure. So, a lot of people will ask us, like, "Hey, I saw this other device that plays soothing sound. How are you different from them?" Now, you have to understand, Elemind is not just soothing sound. As we mentioned earlier on this show, if you were to just listen, if you were to like meditate to sleep or listen to like a babbling brook or raindrops, that is very different from neuromodulation, where every pulse, every sound pulse that you hear is responding in real time to your own brain in a very, very precise way to try to guide the brain from wakeful patterns to restful. So neuromodulation is a much more effective strategy to getting to sleep. And that's why you can't just play white noise or pink noise on your phone and call it a day, because we have to be able to read the brain in real time to know how to stimulate. So that's one. Two is, there's another device on the market that uses electrical stimulation as opposed to acoustic. So acoustic is sound. It's extremely safe. It's very well studied. And there's no possible side effect whatsoever from using sound to try to go to sleep or stimulate the brain. When you use things like electrical stimulation, while it's quote unquote the brain's language, because the brain is an electrochemical organ, there are some side effects that can occur with electrical stimulation, such as burning on the scalp or a tingling sensation on your skin. And there aren't lots of long-term studies showing us that electrostimulating your brain at night with electricity is necessarily good for you long-term. So it's that, and then there's sleeping pills, which might make you feel like you're asleep, but it's not actually, you're not getting all the benefits of natural sleep. It's kind of a blunt instrument that is sedating you. But there's lots of side effects that come with pills.
Sure.
We had a couple people that were talking about magnesium, or there was another one that a lot of people use. What's that natural supplement?
Melatonin.
That's it. And that as well, that some of the folks on our social media are talking about as well. But has there been any sort of resistance, though, by other doctors or the markets in terms of your product that you've had to say, hey, no, this is the real deal and we don't care about you guys, we're moving forward?
No, actually, there hasn't been too much resistance. I think consumers hear about it the first time. They're like, hey, does that really work? That sounds too good to be true. And the answer is yes, it does really work, but it doesn't work for everyone. So
yes, who doesn't it work for?
Well, we think those that it doesn't work for, it's because you might be a low producer of what's called alpha. We have to latch on to a specific brainwave, and if we can't read that brainwave, then we can't stimulate to it. But it works for the majority of people. And within a few weeks, you should know whether or not you're a person that it would be effective for. But overall, lots of doctors that are major proponents of Elemind, we really haven't had too much resistance because we have so much data on it being effective, and we're very transparent about all of our information.
10 seconds. What's the future look like? What's your ultimate vision?
So sleep is our Trojan horse into the rest of the brain. So sleep is where we begin, but with Elemind, we are tracking brain health overnight, and we're going to be able to stimulate to different parts of the brain to optimize your entire neural experience. So sleep is icing on the cake, and we hope that you guys will check it out at elemindtech.com.
Award-winning journalist Kym
Thank you so much.
McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. Phillips.